wonderful guest, Kameena Ballard Dawkins. Have I got it right?
You had it right.
It's a beautiful name, but it's a mouthful, and I slaughter everybody's name, and then I have to apologize. So it's a beautiful, beautiful name for a beautiful, beautiful woman and a beautiful mom, and an amazing force in our community. So I just adore you, and thrilled that I finally get a chance to sit and talk with you, because you have been on the spectrum with Matt Asner, and I got to talk to you and meet you before that, and we had such a good time that I said I feel like you've been on the show before, but it's the first time on our show, so I'm so excited about that. And I mentioned before, you were one of the co-authors of one of the newest toolkits that came out from Autism Speaks. It's got a really long name, but essentially it's about puberty and teenagers and adolescence. And this is something that you know a great deal about, having been an adolescent at one point, but also you are the mom of a teenage girl who's on the spectrum.
Yes.
So that in and of itself is an amazing feat that you're here and that everybody's, okay, and that you have time to do the things that you're doing is amazing in and of itself. I think, we're going to talk about the fact that it's not easy, that there's been nothing easy. But let's start with the guide and take just a minute for people who maybe didn't see your interview on the spectrum. What kinds of things are people going to find in the guide that will help them to negotiate this really difficult time?
Well, Shannon, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show.
Me too.
We did connect so well, and, I was really excited to get here. And I think it's really important for parents to go back over that, and we talk about what's called the Puberty and Adolescence Resource Toolkit. And it's a toolkit for families that also can be taken to providers. And what's in that is, me being the co-author, it was a collaborative project between parents and professionals that are going to give you practical tips about puberty. It also tells parent stories. Things that you can look forward to are not just the science portions of what the difference is between puberty and adolescence, but also scripts that you're going to be able to share with your child. And for example, one of the puberty toolkit inserts are about using yourself as an example when it comes to things like self-care and private and public behavior. What to do, how that's appropriate to keep our kids from being abused. Yeah. And it gets really real when it comes to things that we are dealing with, sensory issues that may affect behavior, elopement, aggression, things like that puberty that happens when not only when you're typically developing, yes, but when you're on the spectrum, of course. So, I really think that all parents can learn from it if they have a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 child, year-old child. But especially for our adolescents that are on the spectrum who may be high functioning, but not just high functioning, that may be nonverbal, low verbal. And then of course in the back it gives really great resources to other places and other things. And in the front cover you can see the insert of the people who really made the toolkit, and inside it we've included pictures of ourselves and our kids. Yeah. And so it was definitely a labor of love, but from a whole team of people who really sat there and thought about what it would take for a parent on the spectrum to come to grips with this time period. And of course I'm actually living it because my daughter's now 13, but when I started when we started the toolkit, she was only 9. Right. So I knew, and that's how it actually came about, because we knew that it was going to be time soon, and I was like, there's going to be time, what do I do? Yeah. And have a female, I have a little girl on the spectrum. Yeah. And so I was just like, well, she's not little anymore, Shannon.
I hear that. Now. I hear that.
But, when she was little, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this little girl? And then, so that was really something, but you know what I want to say, that it grew me. Out of that experience and out of writing all of that down and researching. And there's a mom who has a 13-year-old daughter who's nonverbal, and both of the girls are, I don't know, they're like running a race, and she and I text and call each other, and this puberty toolkit just really bonded us together. But it also showed so much growth for the parents to also collaborate with professionals doing this. So it's sponsored by Autism Speaks Autism Treatment Network,
Yes.
which is also funded through the ARP. And the toolkit is available on the asatn.org website.
And I think it's one of the lesser known, most fabulous tools, the toolkits, right? Because, and there's so many toolkits that are available and they're free. People talk all the time about there aren't resources. And yet every day more and more resources are available. But the toolkits in particular are fabulous. And I think it's the best toolkit that there is.
Thank you.
And that's saying something because there are some amazing toolkits. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, you know, my child's 3, so I don't really know if this is the toolkit for me right now. And like maybe I would agree with you about that, but I think you're right. 9 is a great time to start that toolkit. But if that isn't the toolkit for you, please take a look at what the other toolkits are. There is a toolkit for you. I remember when there was like the first toolkit and then there were 10 toolkits. I do. And then, because Autism Speaks was starting right about the same time. They were, I think, a year ahead of us as my son was being diagnosed. So I sort of feel like we got in on the ground floor of looking at stuff. And but there are so many. I think there's more than 300 toolkits right now, and that might be me just like totally dreaming. But there's lots of toolkits
from different organizations as well.
There you go.
But I wanted to make sure, and I appreciate your compliment in that, because you know we really did a lot of research. It took us like 2 years to write, and we did a lot of research to make sure that it was an homage to what was already there, but actually filling the gap for what was still yet left unsaid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be a revision at some point in the future. This just came out December of last year, the Puberty and Adolescence Resource Toolkit. But it was not without thought that we went into this toolkit thinking of the quality of life that these children have and the quality of life that the parents would have with the child throughout adolescence. You know what I mean? So basically, I just wanted to give a little shout out to those other toolkits too, because that was the reason why it kind of popped up. We kind of course, looked for all the information that was out there to see, and then we saw the whole, filled it, but then complemented the other things, which is something that I think that the ASATN ARP deserves a lot of credit for.
Wow, and we completely appreciate that. So if you want to find any of the toolkits, I don't know if there's an easier way, but the thing that I always tell people, go to autismspeaks.org.
Yes, you can go to Autism Speaks.
Hit the resources tab, and then you will see toolkits, and then you can go and look at is there a better way, or is that?
You know, that's great, because I know that people are already on the site looking for information.
Yes.
And so Autism Speaks, and literally, if you pop in puberty, you're going to find it.
There you go. There you go. All right, we've got so much that we want to talk about with Kameena, and we want to talk about her particular situation, and we also want to talk about a very exciting trip that she went on to Washington, D.C., plus more. But we're going to take a short commercial break, and then we're going to be back with more of that, talking with Kameena Ballard Dawkins.